When selecting your aquarium, the first decision to make is where are you going to put this aquarium. Now in general you'll have a few different options for where you could potentially put your tank. So you need to consider which one is going to be best for the aquarium. You want to try and keep it away from hallways and try and keep it in the coolest position possible. We really want them wherever possible, away from windows or where we're going to experience higher temperatures within the aquarium. You don't just have to get a standard aquarium unit and sit it there like your traditional fish tank anymore. You can make them a part of other furnitures or even set them within walls can look really trendy. But the things we want to consider is how much access do we have to the aquarium and how warm is the temperature. Wherever possible, lower temperature positions are better, and making sure there's plenty of access to service the aquarium. These days it's not only a matter of choosing the size of your aquarium, but you also need to choose the style or model of your aquarium with all these all-in-one models that are now available with the filters and lights and everything built into them. Basically understand how many lights has this tank got, how much filtration has it got, and is that going to be suitable for what you want to keep in the tank. So be aware of that before you purchase them. Now when first visualizing and then making decisions on the aquarium you're going to purchase, bear in mind the longer the aquarium, the wider the aquarium, the better. But then in regards to height, when we start talking about higher aquariums, that's when they start becoming harder to service and generally more expensive. Now, more expensive because the glass becomes thicker, which makes it disproportionately more expensive, and also we're going to need more lighting. If we're going to run a reef aquarium in a tank that's very deep, we're going to have to consider a lot of lighting over the aquarium. Now, a lot of lighting over the aquarium also means often a lot of heat over the aquarium. So therefore, more height, more light, more heat, so in general more problems. The lower the aquarium, the easier it is to service and the easier it is to maintain at a lower temperature. Bear in mind when choosing your aquarium that with a reef aquarium, we're trying to get the corals up as close to the light as possible. So we're trying to build a rock structure which is going to allow our corals to be close to the light, particularly our really light dependent corals. So if we're going to get an aquarium that's not very wide and is very high, it's going to be near impossible to actually mount the rocks up on an angle which is going to allow us to get an amount of photosynthetic surface area. Now what photosynthetic surface area is basically how much area has your aquarium got which is able to grow corals. So if your aquarium is not high and it is wide, you're going to have a very good gradient for photosynthetic surface area, which means this coral here easily gets light, that coral there easily gets light, that coral there easily gets light. But then as soon as your photosynthetic surface area goes down, meaning your aquarium goes high and not as wide, your gradient becomes very steep, which means that the coral at the top might do very well and then shadow the corals underneath it. So you're not going to get a good even distribution of light, and the chances are you're not going to have as much light over the aquarium because there's not as much room for the light. You also need to bear this in mind with the double-sided aquariums, because too often I'll see a double-sided tank where the gradient on each side is too steep, only the corals at the top go well, and they really don't get the effects that they were really after because they didn't put enough width to the aquarium. Because if you're going to have a double-sided aquarium, it really is that. You need to have one side and another side to actually allow it to look like a nice thriving coral reef. This is obviously less of an issue with a fish-only aquarium, but with the reef tanks, the angle of that reef is really going to determine the corals that you can keep on that reef. Don't feel you've got to go to the aquarium, see that one, and that's the one you buy or the one you don't buy. Ask about custom-made aquariums because they really can make them to suit whatever it is that you're after, and it really will suit your particular condition. So when choosing a tank, remember that this really is a long-term investment. This is something that you're going to have as a feature of your home for quite some time. So really look at what's available and make sure you choose what it is that's going to suit you and what it is you want to keep in the aquarium.